So hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Welcome Home Stay Well series. You know by now that this is where we try to invite individuals, groups, organisations and anybody else to start powerful conversations around topics that can help to support your well-being and the well-being of our community. So today I'm joined by my very good friend and our guest, Ricky Brown, and we're going to be exploring the question, how can COVID-19 inspire us to live healthier lives? Now, Ricky is an osteopath, a naturopath, and an exercise professional with over 15 years experience in the health industry. Throughout Ricky's esteemed career, he's had the privilege of working in a variety of settings. I'm sure he'll explain some of this experience as we go through, working with the likes of professional sports performers to primary healthcare. He practices what's called patient-centered medicine, which really focuses on tackling the root cause of chronic lifestyle-related disease. And this includes many of the most common symptoms of our modern times. As a practicing osteopath, Ricky employs manual hands-on therapy as a way to build relationships and achieve results through guiding and coaching his clients towards healthier habits and behaviours, something that we'll be talking a lot about today, no doubt. In 2018 and 2019, I had the absolute pleasure of working side by side with Ricky, where we delivered community-based group health and lifestyle coaching programs in our local community here in Guernsey. And I think it's fair to say that this had a really profound impact on the way that both of us practice as health professionals. And to be honest, I couldn't be more excited for today's discussion, where we're going to be sprinkling all sorts of inspiration and experience on you throughout. So Rick, thank you so much for joining us on today's episode.
My pleasure, Dan. Always an honour to catch up and just reconnect with my previous homeland of the beautiful rock of Guernsey.
Yeah, wicked. So for those people that don't know you, Ricky, what was your relationship to Guernsey, just so they can understand that connection first of all?
Well, I was living in London for 15 years, and I qualified as an osteopath in 2015, and I wanted to practice in a setting that put me at the forefront of primary healthcare. And in the UK, osteopathy it's more delivered in a private setting, although it is now becoming more recognised within primary healthcare through the allied professional route. So there was an opportunity there in Guernsey, and I jumped at it with both hands. Me and my wife looked at each other and thought, shall we go for a complete lifestyle change from the metropolis to the serene and almost utopian environment of Guernsey? And yeah, it was great. It was tough at first, but we just fell into it. We really did. And so 2016, I think it was 2016, I landed. I think it was January, and I was there for 4 years. Coming to 4 years, and really enjoyed it. Fantastic working in a GP setting, so working across 3 GP clinics, serving their kind of referrals for musculoskeletal pain, working alongside physios, doctors and nurses, and really enjoyed it, and it gave me the start I needed as a primary healthcare practitioner to really go out there and understand the terrain and the lifestyles and the landscape of primary healthcare and what people are suffering with more and more these in modern day non-communicable diseases. So yeah, absolutely, priceless experience. And obviously coming out into the community as well, working on the 31-day health transformation program, and that really was an extension of working in primary healthcare and seeing the gaps, seeing the how would I say, the lack of patient-centered and individualized lifestyle medicine, and just the shortcomings which needed addressing. And Guernsey is a brilliant test ground, I would say, for launching community-based programs, because you gain traction because there's such a strong community spirit there. And it was nothing short of revealing. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the feedback from the community, and just to see how much the kind of community spirit contributed to the outcomes and the therapeutic outcomes that we achieved, not just the the interventions, the camaraderie, the interconnectedness, the motivation and the real kind of just the gel, the stuff that we can't really put our hands on in healthcare and medicine, but it was so apparent that this was the driving force behind people's kind of resolution of symptoms and increased wellness and better lifestyles.
Yeah, it's, I think we both felt that it's the future, right? And what we're doing at Welcome Home is a perfect example of that. It is community generated, bottom up, everything that we've contributed so far, the resources, the events, the information, this podcast, all of this is generated by a community feel, and where we're planning to take the platform. It's very, very exciting, and it is completely in alignment, with everything that we ever did. And for those people, who don't know Rick and I, or have never seen what we were doing in Guernsey a few years ago, we were running a program. It was called the 31-Day Health Transformation, our little corny head title. But we were really taking people on this journey to help empower themselves through real primary healthcare, the real decisions that those people made every day around the lifestyle habits and behaviours that attached to the reasons that they were experiencing various symptoms, whether it was headaches, whether it was knee pains, whether it was weight issues, digestion, mental health concerns. I mean, we had the whole remit, really, the whole basket of these symptoms that are, largely unresolvable by, the means that, primary healthcare more traditionally, would seek. So we were taking people through an understanding of their diet, their nutrition. Ricky is a master of movement and brought those aspects, and it was the whole works, really. We helped people to understand, their why were they doing it, as well as building that social cohesiveness around it all. And as Ricky said, we were very fortunate that we brought, certain sets of skills and, brought together, we were able to facilitate something really incredible. But it was the community, and it was that camaraderie, and it was that connectedness that, it puts the hairs up on my arms even talking about it. But it is, it was true community medicine. And that was a testament to, what I think the future holds. And as Ricky said, I think in Guernsey, the potential is almost infinite. But anyway, I digress. Let us stay on topic and let us explore today's question, which is, how can this current situation we're faced with, COVID-19, how can it inspire us now to live healthier lives, much like, we were inspired to help people live healthier lives through the symptoms or, diseases that we were seeing 2 years ago. This just happens to be a new one, I think.
Yeah.
What do you think, Rick? How can COVID-19 show us the way to a more fulfilling life?
Well, I think it's quite obvious, I think, for everybody, for the layperson, for the medical professional, and it reinforces what we did, and it's it's a perfect justification for this this lifestyle based kind of approach to healthcare, and what we've seen through COVID-19 is the behavior of it. As the dust settles, we start to realize, who it affects the most, and its prevalence, its seriousness. And we see that it mainly is an opportunistic virus that seems to prey on those with compromised immune systems and comorbidities. And one of the biggest reasons why I got into, why I wanted to do this program with you was because seeing in primary healthcare so many people who were coming in with symptoms that were just expressions of compounded lifestyle habits and these underlying non-communicable diseases of lifestyle, such as type 2 diabetes, respiratory disorders, obesity. I never saw much in the way of cancer, but these are all these non-communicable diseases which were presenting, and I was basically trying to address one facet of that in a time poor and reductionist manner. So these are the COVID-19 is shining a strong light on what is not being addressed, and I would call the underlying vulnerabilities the real pandemic. That's what I would say. The the type 2 diabetes, the insulin resistance, the metabolic syndrome, because, as I said, what we've seen, and it's there for everybody to see, the statistics are there. I think type 2 diabetes is the most prevalent condition or comorbidity that the serious cases of COVID-19 have presented alongside. So, I think this is shining a light, a strong light in a slightly dark place of healthcare. And I think that we're being shown a path that we've already gone on. A lot of healthcare practitioners have decided to tread that lonely path. A lot of renowned medical professionals are now treading that lonely path. The likes of, your Rangan Chatterjees, your Asim Malhotras, your Mark Hymans in the US, people who are prepared to actually get to the root cause of why people are vulnerable and why people have suffered so much in the UK, in the US. And we can really put it under the umbrella of this metabolic health. People who are, struggling with, their daily lives, basically, the food that they're eating, lack of movement, high stress levels, poor sleep, all of this contributing to this silent, kind of pandemic of poor metabolic health. And something like insulin resistance doesn't creep, it can take years to creep up on you and actually express any symptoms. But something like COVID-19 has come along, and this cytokine storm that occurs in some of these people who are suffering from the these comorbidities, it's a result of having an overactive immune system, if anything. So we're almost looking at a hyperimmune response, which is creating this cascade of terrible symptoms, which unfortunately is leaving many people kind of really vulnerable. So yeah, I think COVID-19 is if anything, it's showing us the way. Whether our modern day healthcare system responds in a way that it could and always has had the potential to is another question. But it reinforces what I do, it reinforces what you do, and many other health practitioners who want to practice patient-centered medicine and get to the root causes of dis-ease and all of the other symptoms that occur beyond that. So yeah, I think it's a wake-up call massively. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think drawing parallels to what you said, we've realised a certain level of vulnerability. We came into this with complete uncertainty as to what it meant for each of us as individuals, and obviously there was a period of time where we had to gather data, which all of these organizations have, to be able to reflect on and look at the greatest challenges that COVID-19 has presented for our health. And I think you're completely right, and again along with fantastic people like we see Asim Malhotra, is in the UK, a cardiologist who's always talking about statistics and looking at the research, which is clearly showing that essentially it's a lifestyle related disease which is causing this epidemic to really become such a dangerous thing to those people who are unfortunately unprepared for a virus like this. So ultimately it is causing us to rethink how quickly we rethink things. I think is not something that's within our control as individuals, but what I want to talk about today, and going back to the aims really of our podcast, is it's all about how can we empower our community? How can we we can highlight the situation, we can shine a light on what we know, and that is that lifestyle related medicine is our best defense. I don't know if I agree with this statement completely, but someone once said to me, it's perhaps the best vaccine that we have against the coronavirus is, taking our diet and, wider aspects of our lifestyle better. And we know that, vaccines are an issue that we certainly won't be talking about on this podcast. But, I understand the concept, if you really want to prevent or, to protect yourself, not only against COVID-19, but against any of these, chronic lifestyle diseases, then we have to start talking about the things that contribute to the root cause of those. It's something that we did. And I wonder, what sort of resources and information you think people can draw on to kind of help them to become empowered and to understand, where does someone start with this? Because, our conversation so far, hugely enlightening, but, we have to move away from the doom and gloom of, here's statistics and here's, what
Yeah.
unfortunately we're understanding to, how can we empower ourselves and how can we take that on the front foot for our own health?
Yeah, well, I think it's tied up in just about every decision we make on a day-to-day basis, and it's about looking at ourselves and really trying to clarify what are our priorities. And we can hark back to our program where we discuss the why and what is our what are our priorities in life, and this whole lockdown has given us the time to be able to reflect on some of those things. And when we're being forced to live a simpler life, we're stripping back a lot of the distractions and the things that we maybe thought were necessities but aren't, and we're being forced to lead a more simplistic, but how would I say, a more empathetic and a more connected to humanity lifestyle. But I think it starts also with really acknowledging that we have a healthcare system that is paternalistic and reactive, and that it can take care of us in the most, in many circumstances. And I'm very thankful for the advances in healthcare that we have, but there is a mismatch between modern disease and modern medicine, and we need to appreciate that first of all, and understand that we have a huge responsibility before any symptoms start. And healthcare for me starts way upstream of any symptoms, and so we need to be able to look in the mirror and be able to say, okay, what are my priorities? What is my purpose? What are my values? And when we look at our values, we start to see how our health is intertwined with all of those. Every single value, whether it's wanting to be a better parent, whether it's want to be successful in your job, whether it's want to be an astronaut, whatever it is, our health is intertwined, and we can't take that for granted, because we are in a precarious time where our food, our environment, and our healthcare are all kind of they're slight. We maybe have this feeling of how would I say that there is a duty of care there, but we have to understand that we're in the middle of this profit-driven, kind of these profit-driven systems that aren't necessarily there for our particular well-being, and we have to navigate through and be able to make the right decisions and not just pick up something from a shelf, as simple as picking up something from a shelf and put it in our basket, open it when we get home and eat it. We now have to become quite aware and mindful and meticulous about the things we pull off shelves and eat, the way we interact with our environment. Because I think for a long time we've maybe taken it for granted that our health will always be there for us, that the food we eat is designed to help us and sustain us. But we are now becoming more and more victim to, how would I say, profit-driven multinational, multinational corporations that ultimately are beholden to their shareholders, not necessarily to our health. And so we don't have to be, we don't have to be, how would I say, overzealous in our personal health care, but we just have to be aware that there are multiple offenses, potential offenses every day with every decision that we make, from the minute we get up to the food we put in our mouths, the stress we may come under when we go to our jobs, everything from what we breathe to what we drink. And it's just about being mindful of that, and feeling that we have autonomy over our decisions. Because I know a lot of people, whether it's their social norms, whether it's their habits, and they're just their almost automated lifestyles, they feel that they don't have power to change things. And so we have to be able to understand that we have a lot of power. And as you said, our lifestyles are a potent vaccine, because we have a beautiful immune system. And when we tend to that beautiful immune system, it does a very good job of protecting us. And I know that many people will feel disempowered by what's happened in the last 3 or 4 months with the advice of just stay at home and wash your hands. No one's telling us to control our inner environment, apart, and they want us to control our external environment, which with this unseen enemy can disempower you within, a matter of minutes, because you don't know what to do. You don't know where it is. You don't know where it's coming from. But if we're told to control and have autonomy over our inner environment, I think there's that real sense of responsibility and power there. So I think it's about acknowledging our responsibility and our autonomy in our health, and understanding that our environment, the environments that we dwell in now, there are numerous opportunities to offend our health, and I think with that in mind, with that foundation, that's where we can start to become curious, gain information, maybe modify our habits, and really start to, to tread a lighter path. And I'd also like to say that building a better relationship with our environment, because I think we've come so far away from our connection with the ground under our feet. And Guernsey was one of those places where I felt particularly more connected to my environment than anywhere I've ever been, because I could go to somebody's house and pick up some hedge veg that they'd grown in their back garden. I would get eggs that I knew the chickens. The food I ate was seasonal. It was local, and you just feel this oneness, this sense of, okay, the closer I am to my environment, the healthier I am. And I think that might be a generalization, but I would say that there's a lot of truth in that.
Yeah,
so
it's incredible. And there's so much that I resonate with you there. And I think what's really interesting is, to accept our limitations in terms of our outer environment and the things, the players, if you like, whether it is, big agriculture or, food producers and all these things which have a clear influence on our lives, but recognizing that, once we become aware of those things, and like you said, we marry that awareness with a sense of motivation towards, I'm coming out of COVID-19, and, whether it's a fear-based motivation of I'm the sort of person who's in the risk category, for a potential complication, or whether it is coming out of COVID-19 with a renewed sense of, oh, I've just really enjoyed 2 months with my family. I've just been able to pick up, an artistic pursuit again. I've been able to reflect on, where I'm at with my work or my life or whatever. And I think a lot of people have a real renewed sense of their values at the minute. At least I know certainly that I do. And, this inner work, if you like, is something that I know you and I have been, into for a long time. But I see so much more now that people are really, becoming aware. And to a degree, I think, awareness brings a sense of discomfort, and that's because at that point, we can't turn back, and we become aware of these things. And as you said, the next decisions we make are, do we want to rethink, the habits that we perform in our lives? Do we want to rethink our priorities, regarding our health and how we spend money on things like food, how we connect with our environment? I mean, as you said, in Guernsey, that's the one thing that's kept me sane, if I'm honest, throughout lockdown. Many people, and yourself included, I know you're in Qatar at the minute. I don't know if you're in a high-rise building or, in a built-up metropolitan area, but, in Guernsey, despite the fact that, we weren't necessarily locked down, and, first thing I'll say is Guernsey Public Health and the medical community over here have done an incredible job. But outside of that, our ability to connect with nature here has been one of the most fundamental determinants of my health and my happiness. And I know that a lot of other people have as well. I mean, the sea swimming, we have parks, we have gardens, we have every climate you can imagine in Guernsey. And again, what the research shows us is that nature is this beautiful, primer for our immune system. Our immune system exists to coexist with our environment. And, when we lose that connection, and then we do come across, things such as COVID-19, and we haven't got that strong, stable base within ourselves to, really bolster our immune defenses, then we are essentially powerless, because, we rely on well-meaning health services and public health information without an understanding that, you know, there is so much that we can do for ourselves and our own health.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that this whole situation has, as I mentioned, disempowered a lot of people, and I think that the understanding, or this, you know, understanding that we have this symbiosis with our environment. You know, look at the hygiene hypothesis, which shows that children who are born of natural birth, vaginal birth, have better immune systems, suffer less with, you know, whether it's atopic conditions, hay fever, asthma, eczema, and in comparison to children who are delivered by cesarean. Children who live in dirtier environments have more people in the house, they have dogs, have pets, they have a better informed immune system. So there's this symbiosis with our natural defenses and the germs that we encounter, the pathogens that we encounter all day, every day. But we're now becoming so frightened, and we want to, you know, sanitize everything and clean everything, which really is disarming us to an extent. And not, you know, not everybody is going to have the beautiful interactions with the environments, the green spaces, the open bodies of water like Guernsey. But at the same time, we still have, wherever we are, we have opportunities to get out, breathe natural air, interact with people, not have this fear. Because yes, COVID-19 is still here, but at the same time, we have a duty to our natural defenses to get out and interact with our natural environments as much as possible. And here in Doha, it's the antithesis of Guernsey, really. It's a complete man-made environment in the middle of the desert, and any grass or greenery that is here has been planted and grown, kind of unnaturally. But we have beach, we have sea, you know, and in the next couple of weeks when things open up, I'm going to be putting my feet in the sand and connecting, getting those free electrons. I'm going to be getting in the sea, and taking my daughter out there as well. So we all have opportunities to actually, you know, inform and strengthen our immune systems. But we have to have this sense of reassurance in ourselves that, okay, this is what this is home base. This is what I need to do first. And yes, there are people out there who are compromised, and I hope this is a real kind of motivator and inspiration for them to look at their lifestyles and see, well, where do I start? And if there's one place, I would say anybody who's suffering from any metabolic issue such as insulin resistance should start is with the food. Look at your diet. Cut out, you know, unnecessary sugars, unnecessary carbohydrates. You know, these are all within our power, and it just takes that, as I said, that awareness of looking at a label. You know, you can eat 4 spoonfuls of sugar, or 1 if you choose the right kind of baked beans. You know, it's simple as that. Choosing sauces to put over your pasta. You could whip up some tomatoes yourself and avoid 3 to 4 grams of sugar. These are all the small insidious things that will make a massive difference in the long run. And I would say if there's one place where people can start is with their food, if they are compromised, or they're suffering from any, whether it's high blood pressure, whether it's high triglycerides, whether it's hypercholesterolemia, you know, those metabolic risk factors for metabolic syndrome and pre-diabetes. It's food, you know, and we can go into the other contributing factors such as sleep.
We could talk for days and days, and you know.
But I think the issue at the moment is that we are let's take from the late 90s to 2006 or 7, the rate of type 2 diabetes doubled. And we think that there are still 500,000 people who are not identified as diabetic who are. Mm-hmm. So we can see that this is probably one of the biggest non-communicable diseases and it's growing rapidly. And how many people are out there with insulin resistance? I mean, you know, this is something that you won't see for years. So it really is about taking our power which I think will ultimately transform our food system. You know, decentralize, get to local farmers, get to local people who are growing food, decentralize some of this food that we're voting for every day when we run up and down the aisles, you know. And like you, I'm quite passionate about that. So
yeah, no, absolutely, man. And it comes through, you know, when you speak, and no doubt when both of us have these conversations, and then hopefully we've, you know, sprinkled a little bit of inspiration on people. I was going to ask you, you know, for a few points to close, but I think you've really, you know, nailed a few down, and I kind of have a few that I'd like to share. And, you know, reflecting on, you know, the opportunity that we have now in Guernsey, which is, you know, we are in phase 5. You know, we have abundance of access to nature, abundance of access to our community, abundance of access to, you know, local initiatives, growing good food, you know, keeping us fit and healthy, helping us to learn how to relax. And, you know, many people in the UK wouldn't be able to, you know, join a meditation group or a yoga group right now, or, you know, go out on the park and get muddy with their mates and things like that. And as simple as that seems, you know, that cannot be taken for granted at the moment. And it is, you know, a scary reality that there is talk of, you know, well, when will the next COVID be? You know, when will the next wave be? When will the next this be? And the reality of that situation is, you know, okay, so how now can we become empowered so that whatever happens in our future, you know, we have a greater control and greater ownership over the factors in our lives that are going to, you know, contribute to whether that has a grave impact on us, and not just us, but our communities, our societies, our families, our elderly, and, you know, all of these factors. So this is just, you know, one conversation of hopefully many that we'll have, you know, on this podcast. And I hope that we have, you know, sprinkled people with a bit of motivation and inspiration and curiosity, really, you know, and drive to want to, you know, learn a little bit more and maybe perhaps make a few changes. But thanks, Rick. Thanks so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to chat and catch up.
yeah, no worries, Dan. Anytime. It's fantastic. And if I'm to leave people with anything, I would say, looking at a time like this, look into Stoicism, look into the meditations of Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, because they're telling us things from thousands of years ago that are more than relevant now. And it's about acknowledging that we have this life and it may end tomorrow, but at the same time, whatever time we have, we should make it quality and worry about how we respond, not trying to change what's going on, but just worrying about how we react, focusing on our responses to the times, and, you know, living with purpose, living with this eudaimonia, this eudaimonic lifestyle, because we all have purpose, we all have values, and if we notice them and appreciate them, I think that is a great foundation for health.
It is the ultimate foundation, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Rick, where can people find you after this if they want to find out? I know that you've got some health programs that you run, and that, you know, you're very inspirational on the socials. So where can people find you? I mean, I can drop links below video, so obviously they can connect. But what's the best place for people to get to know you and what you do more?
Well, I'm on Facebook, so you can find the page Ricky Brown Health on Facebook. I've also got a website, www.rickybrownhealth.com. And on Instagram, Ricky Brown Health as well. So yeah, it's Ricky Brown Health all the way. And yeah, please, if anyone wants to, you know, kind of fire away any questions or has any curiosity, then please, I'm more than open, because it's a how would I say, a purpose of passion, or is it a project of passion? That's it.
No, that's brilliant.
It comes from a place of true empathy and intent. So just like you, Dan, keep up the good work, mate, and I do hope to speak to you again soon.
Yes, man, thank you. And I will finally say, you know, on the note of where you can catch up with Ricky, if you do want to learn more and, you know, you've been inspired by this man, please do go over to his website. I'm signed up to his mailing list, where I receive these articles that blow my socks off. At least once a month, you know, relating to all things relevant in the world, and in particular, you know, how we can look after ourselves through lifestyle medicine. And I know that a lot of people have learned a lot from, you know, from what you've spoken about, what you've written about, what you've, you know, released in video form. And yeah, it's just fantastic, mate. So thank you very much, Rick. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget that you can follow everything that we're doing at Welcome Home through our social media channels. You can catch us at welcomehome.org.gg and keep up to date with all of the progress that we're making with our website as we move the organisation and the project that is Welcome Home forward for the benefit of our community's well-being. Guys, we will catch you next time. Take care.
Take care, buddy.